me again. If you've been walking with me through this podcast journey, then you already know I'm not here to give you grand theories or perfect answers. I'm just here to share what I've lived, what I've learned, what I'm still figuring out, one quiet morning at a time. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. You're in the right place if you've ever felt lost, overwhelmed, or just tired of trying to be someone you're not. Today, I want to talk about something that changed my life. Not with a bang, but with a whisper. It started with my bed. I know, it sounds cliche, but let me take you back to a morning that didn't begin well. I was late. Again. The sun had already risen, but my room looked like a storm had passed through. Clothes on the floor, coffee cups still half full from the night before, sheets tangled, pillows thrown off like they'd been in a fight. And inside, I felt exactly the same. Messy, restless, reactive. That's when I remembered something I had once heard, a Navy admiral, of all people, who said, if you want to change the world, start by making your bed. At the time I laughed, but that morning I was desperate for something, anything, a small win. So I made the bed, not to be neat, not for anyone else, but just to start. I pulled the sheets tight, tucked in the corners, patted the pillow flat. It took maybe 3 minutes, but those 3 minutes, they rewired something. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I had chosen how my day would begin. Since that day, I've made my bed every morning. It's not about tidiness, it's about dignity. It's about telling yourself, before the emails, before the pressure, before the noise, that you are in charge of how your day begins, that you respect yourself enough to create order in a world that feels like chaos. And that matters more than we think. Because tiny actions repeated daily become the architecture of our identity. Tiny habit number 1, make your bed each morning. Not perfectly, just with presence. It's your first quiet win of the day. This was the first of 7 tiny habits that changed my life from the inside out. Not loudly, but quietly, like seeds under the soil. After I started making my bed each morning, something curious began to happen. I started noticing the voice in my head. Not the poetic kind, the real one. The one that speaks to you when you mess up. The one that whispers things you'd never say out loud to someone you love. One afternoon, I spilled coffee on my notebook. It wasn't a big deal, but I caught myself muttering, you're so clumsy, you can't do anything right. And just like that, 3 seconds and I had torn myself down. That moment stopped me cold. Because earlier that same day, my friend Emma had called me in tears. She had made a mistake at work and felt awful about it. And what did I say to her? You're human. It happens. Be kind to yourself. I sat there staring at the brown stain on my journal and asked myself the simplest, most uncomfortable question. Why can I be gentle with others but cruel to myself? That question haunted me for weeks, until I decided to try something small. Each time I made a mistake, spilled something, forgot something, felt overwhelmed, I would pause, take a breath, and say, it's okay, you're trying, you're learning, I've got your back. At first, it felt strange, almost fake, but little by little, the words started to land. Because here's the thing no one told me growing up. The way you talk to yourself becomes the way you live inside your mind. And most of us, we've turned our minds into war zones where every imperfection is a threat and every failure is proof we're not enough. But what if it didn't have to be that way? What if your mind could be a safe house, a quiet place you return to, not to be judged, but to be restored? I know this might sound small, but when you change the way you speak to yourself, you change the way you recover from pain, from pressure, from failure. You become your own ally. And believe me, when life gets heavy, having even one voice on your side, especially if it's your own, can make all the difference. Tiny habit number 2, practice one kind phrase a day to yourself. Speak it out loud, write it, whisper it, just make sure you hear it. There was a time when my room mirrored my mind, cluttered, noisy, and hard to breathe in. One weekend, I decided to clean, not just tidy up, but really clear it out. I told myself I'd keep only what I truly needed or loved. But as I stood in front of a pile of old books, unopened boxes, and worn out clothes, something deeper came up. Each item wasn't just stuff, it was a symbol. The stack of business books I never finished, a version of me I thought I should become. The dress I hadn't worn in 5 years, a body I no longer lived in, but still judged myself for. The unopened art kit, a dream I had buried quietly under the noise of daily survival. That day, I didn't just throw things away. I started letting go of old expectations, the kind that had weighed me down for years. And here's what I realized. We carry things, ideas, identities, even other people's opinions, long after they've expired their purpose in our lives. Sometimes we confuse guilt with loyalty. We think letting go means giving up, but really it means giving space to become, to breathe, to choose again. It took me a long time to understand that holding on isn't always strength. Sometimes strength is in the release. When you create space in your physical world, something magical happens. Your inner world begins to quiet too. You think more clearly, you move with intention, you finally hear your own voice again. It's hard to grow in a room that's already full, and it's even harder to grow in a mind that's packed with other people's definitions of who you should be. So I invite you to ask yourself, what am I still holding on to that no longer serves me? And more importantly, what could I make room for if I let it go? Tiny habit number 3, each week, let go of one thing, physical or mental, that no longer aligns with who you're becoming. There was a season in my life when I kept waiting for the big break. I thought I needed some major epiphany, a perfect plan, or the right time to finally start becoming who I wanted to be. I spent so long waiting that I didn't notice the days slipping quietly through my fingers. One evening, I was listening to an old man speak at a small local library. He wasn't famous. There were maybe 7 of us in the room. But something he said changed me. The person you become isn't shaped by what you do once in a while. It's who you are in the quiet, uneventful days, the days when no one's watching. That hit me. I went home and wrote one sticky note, one small win, every day. At first, it was laughably small. Reading 5 pages, stretching for 10 minutes, writing a paragraph, turning off my phone an hour earlier. No one was clapping, no one noticed, but I felt it. Something was shifting. What I realized is this: big transformations are rarely loud. They happen in whispers, in quiet acts of self-respect, in showing up when it's boring, in doing the thing even when motivation is nowhere to be found. Self-learning, just like self-growth, is never a one-time event. It's a habit, a rhythm, a quiet promise you keep with yourself. That's the power of momentum. Not the frantic kind that burns out after a week, but the slow, steady kind that becomes who you are. I didn't need motivation. I just needed to start and to keep going, imperfectly. Tiny habit number 4, create a daily win list. One tiny action you'll commit to each day. Keep it small, keep it consistent. That's how momentum builds. And that whisper, it was the beginning of freedom. Because the truth is, the world isn't built for self-learners. We're trained to follow systems, to wait for permission, to be told what matters and when to care. But the moment you become your own teacher, you no longer need permission. You create your own curriculum, you follow your own timeline, and you decide what matters. Self-learning isn't always efficient. It's messy. It's frustrating. You'll start a book and never finish it. You'll chase rabbit holes that lead nowhere. You'll fail, then fail again, and still have no clear roadmap. But here's the secret. Every time you struggle, you sharpen something deeper. Not just your skills, but your character. You build patience, resilience, curiosity, a kind of inner compass that no school can give you. You become unshakable. Because when you learn how to learn, when you build the habit of teaching yourself, there is no version of the future where you lose. You might pivot, You might stumble, but you won't be lost. You'll know how to find your way back. Final takeaway, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be willing. The moment you choose to own your learning, really own it, you become unstoppable. So here's my closing question to you. What's the one thing you've always wanted to learn but never gave yourself permission to try? Whatever it is, start, stumble, try badly, and keep going. Because once you learn how to teach yourself, the rest of the world opens up. Thank you for being here, for choosing growth, for listening not just to me, but to your own quiet voice inside, the one that believes in who you're becoming. Until next time, keep learning, keep showing up, and never forget, you're more capable than you think.